Hey everybody, Cam Capital here with a video on the cannabis sector. So obviously we had some news this past week, especially with 420. We had the Safe Banking Act passed through the House. That passed on Monday. You thought you'd get a bounce off that play, but really didn't get it. So here we'll start with THCX and then go to an article talking about it. But Monday, red day, and then 420, basically the unofficial holiday. Massive red candles all throughout the cannabis stocks, and then we get a rebound off the second half of the week. And look to see if this last week kind of formed a bottom here. As you see, I have the 1653 dash line right here. If you can see that in purple, I need to figure out different colors to have on this. As you know, that's not very well seen, and honestly, there's a lot of colors on the chart, but that 1650 level looks like it could be a base, as we did have that pullback at the end of January, and then this massive hammer candle off March 5th bounced right at that 1650 level, and then the lows of this week 1667, 1671. So big red candle down, got into this consolidated zone here, kind of that drop off in volume. It is there. You probably skew the chart away. If I reset the volume profile the last 100 days, probably show a pretty big increase in the 1650 area. But anyways, we got to bounce off that, and I think this, using candlesticks here, adding everything together, this big hammer here is going to act as a good bottom for buyers to come in off of, and that showed here in the last 3 days of the week. So if we jump out to the weekly chart, you'll see what I'm seeing here too. As we did put in this doji kind of doji hammer right here, cross over a lot of EMAs right in this zone, below 16, 1750 area, right? We have the 200 here sitting right about 720. The 22 EMA came all the way up 7.5, closed at 1788. So we'll look to see if we can move up higher in this upcoming week, as there is still marijuana related news coming out with Aphria and Tilray's merger. Well, Tilray shareholders voting on Friday, but if that merger goes through, we can see some positive things throughout the sector. So with that, we're just going to jump over to Market Watch here, just article on the cannabis banking. So don't have access to banking. This congressman is trying to change that. So basically talking how Rep Perlmutter's bill, passed through the House, had over 300 votes. So people on both sides were for it. But now it's basically like, hey, we put this up in the Senate's hands. Now they got to do something. So they did pass it in 2019 as well here. Dubbed the Safe Banking Act, but it died in the Senate, and they think the Safe Banking Act now has a better chance to go through, obviously with a Democrat-controlled Senate. And it seems like the Dems think some Republicans will support it. Obviously, the decriminalization aspect they want to tie to it, and getting it off of the Schedule 1 side of things legally would obviously help. But there is worry that that this thing could be filibustered. So he thinks this bill could get 60 votes, enough to overcome a filibuster if it did happen in the Senate. But then you also have here down lower, this Senator Roy Blunt doesn't see any significant Republican support. So I think that's kind of what people were looking at after like the bill got passed. They're like, hey, that's great news, but we still don't think it's going to go through the Senate to actually become law. And so they'll need the federal legalization to go through first, and that's something Senator Schumer's working on. But there's no set date for when that could occur, so it's kind of up in limbo. But these stocks are moving with it. So we go to MSOS, so kind of a more US-based ETF for cannabis companies. Similar chart weekly here, side of things for as THCX, but a little bit more selling off today. Didn't have that double bottom or base with the hammer, right? So the hammer on the 5th here was stronger for MSOS, but we sold off lower. But we do have some support from where we did bounce, right? Do have this 50% fib level around 38, and then you have this weekly area of test of that 50 pullback and then break through, and then we had the gap up. So we filled that gap this week, moving lower, but less strength towards the end of the week here. As you see, big bounce day on Wednesday, Friday. Trying to test that 9 EMA on the daily side of things, just couldn't get through it. So not as much strength. You saw that in the weekly chart with the red candle instead of the doji. But you see we are sitting right here, right at the bottom of this overhead supply, so a lot of supply in the 40s. So let's look to see if volume news comes out to push this thing higher. So if we go back to the weekly chart, just look at that real quick. I'm talking, right? So you can see the difference here. Instead of the double bottom off this week with the hammer, here we still do have a spinning top, somewhat of a hammer. Is probably the downward tail is definitely twice the size of the body, so you call it a hammer if buyers want to come and get off that. But you see we do have this little base right here where I was talking about the 50% level, and then on the weekly side of things, right, so we're pushing right up into this one standard deviation level below, and also the 22 EMA on the weekly acting as overhead resistance. So we'll have to see if volume come in for MSOS later in the week. And then obviously CURLF is probably one of the biggest names as a US based cannabis company, so kind of had some better consolidation up high compared to the overall ETFs, but more of a significant pullback this last week, right, dropping from 14 to 12 bucks. So that's what, almost a 15% move on in the 2 days. But we do get a sizable bounce back up, but still, just like MSOS, CURLF's in that ETF, but the 9 EMA above acting as resistance. And then we do have this inside candle that formed on Friday. So if you watch my prior videos, you know what plays I like for inside candles, right? So I want to mark the high, mark the low, and I have been actually looking at more playing the open and close prices too, right? So if we gap down below the close price on Friday, I'm gonna look to go short. If we gap higher, obviously look to go long, and then you're expecting that area of resistance to be the open price from Friday. So basically two options to play on the inside candle based on Monday's pre-market action and the open. And if we go out to the weekly, see pretty similar to MSOS, pulled back right into this consolidated area from December. Another hammer candle here. So we'll look to see if buyers will hold this $12.33 base area, as you know, right there below 12, in the 12s, low 12s, increase in volume, gap above, but also quite a bit of overhead supply volume that we'll need to push through moving forward. And then with that, we'll go to our Canadian companies. Still waiting on merger news. That'll come out on Friday with Tilray shareholders voting. Pretty much expected that's going to pass, but here, pretty similar chart. All right, so we pulled back into this consolidated area once again from January. Been pretty sideways after its earnings. The gap down on its earnings from the 12th, so 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks of consolidated price action, and haven't been able to break through the 9 EMA. So actually had a green day on Monday. Well, those ETFs in CURLF were red. Obviously significant move down on 420 with the Safe Banking Act news, the reaction to the Senate part of it, and then gap lower, pushed up higher on Wednesday, and then just consolidating right back up to the 9 EMA. So look to see if if we get some buying pressure, look for that break of the 9 EMA to potentially go long, and then take out the top of this large red candle down. So looking basically for a $15 target potentially on upside news, for a break Monday, Tuesday. Go to the weekly side of things. So pretty big indecision, right? So basically, spinning top candle. Now we got a doji. So basically looking to see how the next candle is going to open, right? So volume based on the weekly, a lot of volume between 13, from basically 13, 14 bucks down to 12 and a half, acting as buying support. So look to see if this can break one way or the other, right? So just kind of like that inside bar play with the doji, how this next candle opens, that's kind of the direction you're expecting to take for the next week. So if doji candles kind of means that there's indecision in the market, bulls and bears can't take control. So once one side cracks, you look for that counter trend move to happen. All right, so we have been downtrending, so this could mean that the bears are getting weak and bulls might be taking over, especially with the catalyst on Friday. So we'll go to Tilray real quick, finish this thing off, get into a 10-minute video right now. Appreciate you taking time to watch the videos though, but see Tilray here, kind of obviously had a bigger move up than Aphria, so the downside move looks a little bit worse, but you see here where we are consolidating this last 2 weeks in volume. We're actually below this shelf. Just if I can mark it here, see, kind of below the shelf here from the end of January. So this last 2 weeks has actually been a little bit worse for Tilray moving forward. And then also there is, the arbitrage opportunity with Aphria and Tilray stocks, as if the merger goes through, Aphria stocks I think count as like 0.81 shares of Tilray, so that price is going to have to equalize after Friday. But you see here, just too, with the downside move this week, we pushed lower, into this low volume area, got all the way down to 15 on Wednesday, 15.17. We do kind of have this candle here, the hammer 15.6. That's where we bounced off the 420 move lower, but the gap down pushes back up, and then just like Aphria, unable to get through the 9 EMA right now, and also have this half deviation level acting as overhead resistance. Go to the weekly chart, it's going to look pretty similar to Aphria's, right? So spinning top, back to doji candle, and on the weekly side, things for Tilray here, we're basically jammed between the 22 and the 50 EMA. So same play kind of in effect with Aphria, obviously. So the doji, whatever way the next candle opens, that's where we're expecting the market to go, to see if bulls and bears can take control for these two stocks. So that's what I got for you guys on these cannabis stocks. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. What are your thoughts on the Safe Banking Act and potential federal legalization, when you think that could occur? Appreciate you once again for taking time to watch the videos, and we'll see you in the next one.